Hey there. Today we're going to talk about whales, the largest existing animals on the entire planet. And what makes them even more unusual than you might think is that they are mammals, because that means they have a circulatory system similar to ours, and they breathe oxygen, unlike fish. They can also get pregnant and nurse their young with milk, which makes their existence completely crazy since they live in the water rather than on land. Although, at one point in the past, they did try to come onto land and even lived on land for some time, but then they got together, looked at themselves, realized they resembled giant opossums, and feared the prospect of eternal debt, working for life, and living in concrete boxes. So, they ultimately decided to return to the water. This happened at about 54 million years ago. But even with their return to the water, they paid a heavy price for attempting to live on land. Evolution punished them by moving their nose literally to the top of their head. So now, when they submerge, they have to pinch their nostrils shut to keep water from entering their airways. Crazy, right? On top of that, whales don't breathe unconsciously like we do. They have to consciously inhale and exhale. In other words, we can continue breathing unconscious, but the whale can't. So whales can't even sleep properly, because if they fell into a deep sleep, they'd stop breathing and die. So whales solve this problem by gathering into whale hangout crews, usually groups of 5-8 whales. In these groups, they enter a trance-like state where they sleep with one brain hemisphere at a time. They drift vertically underwater in these groups, slowly sinking to the bottom. Then they whack their tails on the seafloor to wake up and surface for air. Before repeating the cycle over and over until they've had enough. Scientists accidentally discovered this when observing them, and were totally freaked out because from the outside, it looks like some intense satanic ritual. As you can imagine, this sleep format isn't very comfortable, so whales don't sleep very often. Some whale species only sleep for 15 minutes per day, and sometimes whales can even go for 3 months without any sleep at all. But let's move on. Whales reproduce similar to us, but due to their immense weight and size, they face a unique challenge in the mating process itself. If a male whale attempts to mount a female directly, his weight would simply cause her to start sinking, making reproduction impossible. But whales have come up with a way out. They literally call in a third whale who supports the female on his back, allowing the male to fertilize her. Whale pregnancy usually lasts about a year, but for some species, the gestation period can extend up to 2 years. After the baby whale is born, the mother starts nursing it with her milk, but whales don't have lips, so they can't just drink the milk. Instead, the mother whale forcefully squirts the milk, like a powerful fire hose. And I'm not joking. The milk stream from a whale can penetrate water up to 2 meters away. That's how strong the pressure is. And baby whales nurse on this milk for around 6 months after birth in such a heavy way. But that's not the worst of it. The real challenges begin when a whale starts feeding independently, as they cannot consume large prey due to their throat being only about 10 centimeters in diameter. Therefore, whales are forced to eat tiny food particles that they filter out of the water using their massive baleen plates, which act like a sieve. They open their mouths and swim at full speed to fill them with water, then force the water back out through the baleen plates while trapping the small food inside their mouths. Whales can consume vast amounts of water and filter up to 2 tons of food in a single gulp. Understandably, filter feeding is not the most convenient way to eat, so from birth whales build up an immense fat layer that allows them to go for extended periods without eating during extreme times. In fact, through the process of evolution, whales have accumulated so much fat that instead of tears, they release an oily substance from their eyes at great depths to protect them from salt and actually improve their vision. Their fat also insulates them, allowing whales to retain heat efficiently and swim in extremely cold waters. Also, whales themselves can live over 100 years and grow over 20 meters in length. Whales are also capable of incredibly loud vocalizations. They are very vocal creatures. Despite lacking vocal cords, they constantly moo and sing songs. With a repertoire of around 180 different sounds in their lexicon that they use to communicate with other whales. And they do this at enormous volume. The sounds of whales travel underwater over vast distances and can be heard at a distance of up to 1,600 kilometers. And whales don't actually have external ear openings. Instead, they detect sounds through their throat and lower jaw bones, which transmit the vibrations through a fat-filled cavity to their inner ear. As we know, whales are filled with fat throughout their bodies, including in their inner ear structure, which greatly aids them in perceiving sounds underwater. On average, whales weigh around 150 tons. A whale's tongue alone is nearly 3 tons, and their heart can weigh over a ton. That's over 30 times heavier than an elephant's heart. In fact, a whale's heart is so massive, a human could fit inside it. But despite the great heart of whales, to like them is not easy. Whales tend to be wary of humans due to having been hunted by them for centuries, even though whaling is now illegal. As a result, whales generally try to avoid human contact whenever possible. But no matter how much whales try to avoid humans, there's one thing they can't hide from us: their vomit. People absolutely love whale vomit. I'm not kidding. Whale vomit, known as ambergris, is literally worth more than gold. Ambergris has captivated humans for hundreds of years. In China, it was even believed to be the hardened spittle of dragons. Ambergris was ascribed medicinal properties and ingested for epilepsy, asthma, headaches, and impotence. It was added to coffee, tobacco, and burned as incense. But most valued by perfumers who discovered it, enhanced and prolonged other scents, making ambergris containing perfumes highly prized. And yes, the fact that humans covet whale vomit must terrify whales. But it's not easy for whales to hide from us. As we've discovered, each whale has a completely unique tail pattern due to scars and spots from deep-water seaweed kelps. We use photo identification of tails to recognize individual whales, basically stalking them by their tail prints. If whales were criminals, they'd need to learn how to wipe their tail prints to avoid being tracked. Though whales aren't violent criminals, they do sometimes harm themselves through group suicides, where they intentionally beach themselves and die. There have been cases where beached whales were pushed back into water, only to re-beach themselves, though this is rare. More often, whales just live their crazy lives, crying fat tears, squirting their young with milk, group nap trancing, and doing other bizarre whale things in typical whale fashion. And that's exactly why we love them, for being freakishly themselves in the oceans, rather than on land, having reached the pinnacle of insanity. Well, it seems that's all for now. That's everything we currently know about the strange behavior and life of whales, and perhaps we should thank God for that. I'm sure whales have many more secret and frightening mysteries, but this time we won't uncover them. We'll leave things be. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a like, and support me on Patreon if you're able and willing. Bye. See you soon.